go into the meeting immediately after them, and they basically say, the WordPress guys were here, they tell us they can do it, we don't believe them, but prove to us that Drupal's going to work for our admin assistants and for our legal department and for our PR department. Because if you can't make it work, despite all this great stuff you're doing, we're voting you out, okay? And I've lost. And we'll continue to lose for a long time until we spend more time on the UX and more time on the content side. We can use views, and this is very powerful, teaching them that they can mix up and mash up content presented in different ways. And I think most of this audience understands this. This is one that's really important. I like to differentiate between us and WordPress and Joomla. Basically, we say, yes, we've got an admin. Now, the problem with the admin user is the admin user gets paid $70 an hour to push out HTML pages to the servers inside right now, and you've got to convince them that it's cheaper to have the legal admin to be able to do a review and be able to push stuff out through a Drupal site directly. Right? That's where the big cost savings in these organizations. It can take 2 weeks, it can take 3 weeks, a month to push content out in most enterprises right now, just because of the way the workflow goes. So we've got to be able to have the admin log into the site. We've got to be able to have anonymous users visit the site, but more importantly, we've got to have people be able to log in internally and to be able to add content. And so the story I always ask people is, does your boss have a boss? Right? And the reason that's important is that every big organization understands that there's somebody going to be reviewing things higher up in the stack than they are. Okay, and so being able to give those custom flexibility and rules, being able to map those rules back to an LDAP directory, being able to map those rules back to an active directory for the corporate is really critical. Again, all stuff you know, but it's really important to review this stuff. Okay, now we're going to start to get into a little more creative stuff. Just going through and basically saying, okay, these people can edit, these people can get into a workflow, these people can draft, these people can do marketing review, these people can do legal review, and convincing them they get that fine grain of control is absolutely critical to any organization, because they often don't trust their people inside the organization because they're not given the technical skills to be fully competent. So making sure that they understand and feel they've got full flexibility is critical to getting buy-in. Okay, now we're going to start diving into some meat. Okay, so Drupal, there's a lot of concern. I come back to this. People who've built their career, people who are certified on Java platforms and certified on .NET platforms are really opposed to Drupal, right? They've spent 10 years learning a stack, they're experts in it, the corporation relies on it. They do not want to introduce new technology, they do not want to introduce Linux into their environment, they do not want to introduce MySQL because they don't know how to run it. And those people often get paid 60% of what they get paid, 50% of what they get paid. Compare a salary of an Oracle DB versus a MySQL DB. Those DBAs are going to start whispering in the ears of folks, you don't want to run MySQL, you don't want to run stuff. So we've got to get the message out there that Drupal runs on Linux, it runs on Microsoft Windows, it runs on IIS, it runs on Postgres, it runs on whatever you need. And we also have to tell them that the largest sites in the world are using PHP. The problem with PHP is that Rasmus didn't trademark PHP. When you go to Drupal.org and you look at the bottom of the page, it says Drupal is a registered trademark of Dries Python. That's a good thing because we can go out and yank the license and the trademark for anybody who puts up a bad Drupal service. I run part of the advertising program on Drupal.org, and we had a service called Drupal Hosting. Well, Drupal Hosting was based out of, it was based offshore, and they basically stood the site up. Then basically what they started doing was double billing their customers. Then they stopped doing security on their site. So now Drupal Hosting was one of the worst hosting environments that was out there, but yet they were able to keep the trademark up and while providing horrible service. Those are the things that happened in the PHP project early on in its days, and nobody would yank the name PHP from all the projects with security failing and all the bad PHP hosting. So basically all the enterprise users came to the conclusion that PHP as a language is not valid for the enterprise. So we're always going to have to be fighting that thing. So we've got to convince them, can PHP scale? Yes, Facebook uses it, Flickr uses it. People who are doing 30 billion dynamic pages per month right now are using this technology stack, and it is scalable. We've got to convince them. But the enterprises, they haven't adopted this largely yet. This is a good example of the stack and how to break it up. We're going to need, you guys can't see that, can you? The middle blocks are presentation layer, templates, content types, navigation elements, community modules, and integrations. And I'll go into some of those in more detail. What's critical here is that how more solid Drupal is as an architecture and flexible as an architecture. We've got to be able to explain that to these people who've been building and deploying large enterprise applications on a regular basis. Okay. Oops. So, Drupal's modular, and this is a key part of its architecture. A lot of people say, is Drupal built for scalability, is Drupal built for performance? And I tell them frankly, but only in these private meetings, no, it's not. It's really not built for those things. It's built for modularity, right? right? It's built so that you can add contributed modules. Because most organizations, when they're looking at moving off the platform, they're looking to move off for one of two reasons. They're paying $1 million+ a year in licenses or more, and they can't get the features they want. Okay? So the modular nature of it allows the organizations, the business owners, to have the flexibility they want. So we've got 7,000+ modules, 5,000 contributors, 800 contributors to core, and they're driving that innovation. All the modules are sort of the next generation research lab. The number of APIs in Drupal 7 has absolutely exploded. We took so much of the good stuff, dozens if not hundreds of good stuff in contributed modules and embedded it inside Drupal 7. That's one of the reasons why it's taken so long. We also test those, and so we can now go up, and if you have a contributed module and you're looking to deploy a contributed module, you can now run the QA platform on it. So you can run simple tests on it, and that'll give you more assurances. A lot of the problems with Drupal sites right now is people are randomly downloading modules and pushing them out to large organizations. Those modules don't scale. Okay? And so we're also working on load testing for that. And then the key is that the bug in Drupal, the common bug in Drupal core, is if you can't customize something on a website, the Drupal community considers it a bug. Okay? And that's a big problem for a lot of developers. A lot of developers hate that they get a Drupal experience out of the box. Right? This is where the small core movement has come from. People want to be able to completely override every experience in the Drupal site to customize, and enterprises want to be able to completely override everything, and they want to do it in a non-expensive way. And so the increased amount of hooks in 6 and the increased amount of hooks in 7 in APIs has really helped to allow that to be done. Okay. So from a modular, I should also mention that this is also, these architecture slides, part of them have come from work done by Jeff Eden and Larry Garfield, so I want to attribute them for the good work they've done explaining Drupal's architecture. Drupal's theme is skinnable, so we sort of get a model view controller. Every module can have theme functions. It also has a database and tables, and so that's where your model is. And the controller is Drupal's event behavior. The theme plays an important part in that the notion of MVC, although we don't actually implement MVC. We can, and this is another big thing that's going to be really critical, is that what we see today and what we're thinking Drupal of, particularly for Drupal 8, is a 7-headed Hydra. Right? Drupal's theme layer allows you to put up a website, right? But it also allows you to put up a mobile site. It also allows you to put up an XML RPC front end. You can add the services module, and now all of a sudden you're talking to Drupal site via services. You can plug in an Android application or a Facebook application, or you can plug in an iPhone application. So these are the things, and you can also do RDFA and turn it into a semantic linked data repository. So because Drupal can be the 7-headed Hydra, we can have a level of depth in the enterprise that almost no other CMS can. And this is a huge differentiator, so you need to be able to get out there and paint the picture about Drupal's flexible theming system enabling all these different platforms and consumption on all these different platforms. Drupal's event-driven, and we do it without using objects, but we use something very similar to it, which is our procedural use of hooks. We're talking about moving. There's kind of a battle. I had a good conversation last night about whether we're going to move to object-oriented or whether we're going to move Drupal to JavaScript entirely yesterday. But for now, we're event-driven, and we take actions based on behaviors of the user on the website. This is also a hot topic. You're going to get a lot of enterprises who have built custom stacks, tuned those stacks when they don't want to scale. I went to Disney and got my ass kicked at Disney because they basically said, we run Go.com. Go.com has 30 billion page views a month. Prove to me that Drupal can do that. And the